Bang! Neeves Knives, I'm Jared, and here we have the KATSU FB01 with SLD Magic Steel. Now, this steel actually comes from SKD11 steel, so it's a modified steel of that. It's supposed to be a very tough, good wear resistant steel. Now you can see it has the San Mai. You can see the core steel running all the way down the blade, and then I'm guessing the jacket is probably something for corrosion, maybe just a little bit more corrosion resistance, because the core steel is not very corrosion resistant. It is, more for toughness and chopping. Now, I'm not saying that this is where they got this from, but this kind of reminds me of the short sword that they would use in Japan, or the Japanese warriors would use to end themselves if they were caught by an enemy. Now, they were also used to, and I'm being careful with my words because of YouTube, they would end themselves and then one of the other warriors would chop their head off, and it was considered an honorable way to die. But also, if they got caught by enemies, they might not have wanted to be tortured, so this was a way that they could possibly end themselves. And then if they were caught by certain enemies, they would give them the choice to end themselves honorably. Anyways, that is called a seppuku, and the short sword, which would be between 12 and 16 inches, I think, or 12 to 24 inches, which this one's 12 inches with a 7 1/4 inch blade, is called a WAKIZASHI, because the WAKIZASHI is the long sword. This would be a WAKIZASHI. Now, I'm not saying that that's what this is. I'm just saying that's what it reminds me of. Anyways, before we talk about how this thing chops, because man, this thing chops really, really well. The actual sheath itself, I kind of like. It dangles, so it's actually kind of a comfortable carry, and I can take it off of my belt many different fashions. Like, I can turn it sideways and yank it backwards. I can reverse grip it and push it forward and pull it out, or I can just pull it straight out. So I do like this sheath. It's a really nice Kydex sheath. The belt loop, feels like it's pretty durable, feels like it'll hold up pretty good. Now, the actual knife itself, the G10 handles are really well done. The tolerances are done really good. And I will say, I was not expecting this to be as good as it is. I really was not. I was not expecting this thing to chop as good as it did, to just pass through materials the way it did. And even though I was chopping, I was chopping out in the woods, I chopped a bunch of stuff. And, now let's see how the edge is after all that. Look at this. The edge is still perfect. So, not only is the steel probably very tough, but they did seem like they did a pretty good job on the heat treat. Very, very happy with it. And like I said, the balance and the type of knife, knife it is, I want to call it a knife, but I almost want to call it a short sword. You wouldn't think this thing would chop as good as it does, but man, you can cut down brush, you can chop it, you can do just about anything. It's not too thick of a spine, so the geometry is really good for passing through things while not being overly thick, making it only good at like chopping, thick wood. But this thing also is good at that, and then also good at chopping like limbs and small stuff that just passes right through it very nicely. And the ergos are very comfortable. It has a nice thickness, nice depth, and, you really get a good squeeze on it. You can back up a little bit if it's still a full 4-finger grip, but, it's easy to wield, easy to swing, came with a really good edge, and yeah, I'm very impressed with it. I'm more impressed with this than I thought I was going to be. Now, I do have a link to KATSU's site where they have a bunch of awesome knives. I've actually featured a bunch of their stuff on the channel, including this guy right here, which is really awesome, and it actually has a karambit ring that you can easily take this off. You just take off the clip, you just unscrew this, take the clip off, this slides out, slide this in, put the clip back on. Super easy. I have a full video on this knife. Now, this one is ultra premium. We have ZDP 189, he treated like 66, 67 HRC, and then the clip and the show side is actually zirconium. And then there's carbon fiber over the top. Now there is budget versions of this that are a little bit more affordable. I'm not sure if they come with the karambit ring or not, but you can go and watch this full video. It's a really cool video. Another knife we featured on the channel is the KATSU folding knife. Now this knife has a big resemblance to a Rockstead Higo. It has very beautiful carbon fiber, polished carbon fiber scales, and then 154 cm blade steel, front flipping action, and for the price, you get a lot of value for your money right here. And like I said, you know, it looks and has a very similar appearance to a Rockstead, very comfortable in the hand. The one thing is there is no clip on this, but it does come with a belt sheath. Now, going back to this guy, like I said, this is not, you know, super affordable. It's about 260 bucks. But, you know, like I said, I have an affiliate link to their site, so you can check out other stuff on their site. I will say, I'm very impressed with it. Is it worth the $260? You know, that's arguable. It is arguable. I would say the heat treat is done very well. The geometry is good. I love the balance. I love the way it swings. I love the way it feels. I like the way it carries. So it has a lot of great features. Now, I just don't know if it's $260 worth. However, like the look of it, in my opinion, if it speaks to you, then it's probably worth it because it does have a gorgeous look. It is a gorgeous looking knife with the Sanmai. It looks beautiful. It really does. And it has such a cool balance. Now, like I said, the SLD Magic is a super tough steel. So, you know, you're not going to have to worry about chipping or anything like that from chopping and stuff. So it should have pretty good edge stability and, you know, toughness. Now, one last thing, the one little negative, and this is a very tiny negative, after I was done, and it's my fault too, just let's be clear, it's my fault, but just something to be warned of. After I was done chopping out in the woods, I rinsed it off in a river, right? So I put it in a river, I splashed it around, cleaned it off, which was fine. But when I brought it back in, I'm guessing a little piece of sap or something was on here because when I cleaned it off the next day, there was a little tiny rust spot right there. You can see where I got it off with a rust eraser. Now that wouldn't have happened if I would have just dried it off and oiled it. But I did not I dried it off, but I didn't oil it. And when I dried it off, I didn't dry it off that good. I just kind of wiped it, threw it in the sheath. So it 100% is my fault. I totally could have prevented that, but this is going to be a steel that can rust easily. So you're just going to want to keep it clean, keep it dry, keep it oiled. You know, you can oil it with just about any kind of oil, and the jacket should be nice and stainless around, you know, the outside layer. But yeah, anyways, there you guys go. Just a quick look at it. Like I said, everything will be linked down in the description. Peace.